Welcome, fellow wanderer of forgotten worlds. Tonight, I invite you to step softly with me into the shadows of feudal Japan, not as a samurai or an emperor, but as a ninja, not the glamorous, unstoppable warriors of modern legend. No, tonight we're meeting the real ones, overworked, underpaid, constantly in danger, and probably cold, wet, and exhausted. This is a story not of glory, but of grit, of creeping through rice fields at midnight, dodging dogs, spies, and betrayal. A glimpse into a world where silence was survival, and even success often meant remaining completely unknown. So, before we begin, dim the lights, settle somewhere warm and safe, unlike our poor ninja friend, and let your imagination slip quietly into the mist. I made this video to help you relax, learn something unexpected, and maybe even laugh a little as you drift gently into sleep. And hey, where in the world are you listening from tonight? I always love reading your comments. It reminds me that even in the quiet, we're all connected by story. If this journey through the shadowy alleys of the past helps you rest, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and tap the bell so you'll always have a place to return when sleep feels just out of reach. Now, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let's begin our journey into the surprisingly tough life of an ancient ninja. You awaken in silence, not because you have slept well, but because your body is trained not to move. It knows before your eyes open that it must not twitch, must not stretch, must not sigh. Your lungs fill slowly, shallowly. The straw beneath your back itches through the thin cotton of your robe. You lie perfectly still, listening. The sounds are faint, distant footsteps in the street beyond the paper wall, the clatter of a rice bowl being scrubbed, a crow cawing from the rooftop above. Nothing out of place. For now, you open your eyes. Above you, a ceiling of soot-darkened wood, warped from years of smoke and summer heat. Around you, the tiny confines of the hidden compartment beneath the floor of a merchant's storehouse. You've been here since before dawn, wedged like a corpse into a space no wider than your shoulders. You haven't eaten in 2 days. There's a cut on your hip that itches under the bandage. The dampness tells you it's opened again, but you cannot leave. Not yet. It is too soon after the last job. You are in the city of Kyoto. The year is 1573. Ashikaga rule has just collapsed. The shogunate is dead in everything but name. Japan is divided, bleeding. Daimyo lords war constantly, shifting alliances and burning villages with the same ease they swap banners. Among them, your kind is tolerated only in the shadows. You serve no lord directly, not unless paid to. You wear no family crest. You are a shinobi ninja, as the stories call you now. But that word does not mean what people think it does. It does not mean power. It does not mean honor. It means you survive by disappearing. You sit up slowly, careful not to brush the wooden panel above you. Your body protests. Your knees crack. Your spine aches. The wound on your hip pulses with each breath. You adjust the wrappings on your forearms and wipe dried blood from your palm. The air in the compartment is sour with sweat, old rice, and mildew. Your tongue is dry. You need water. You need food. But those are luxuries you cannot chase freely. The man who lets you hide here, a grain merchant named Kenzo, knows better than to ask questions. You saved his son once, slipped into a guarded compound to pull the boy from a fire during a midnight skirmish. You were paid for that. He owes you no favors now. He only tolerates your presence. And if a patrol comes asking about spies, or masked men, he will turn you in without hesitation. You reach for your small pack hidden behind a loose floorboard. Inside is your entire life, a broken map of the city's alleys, a flint and tinder, a small jar of poison made from the belladonna root, a worn length of silk cord for strangulation, a few throwing nails, not the elaborate weapons the stories mention. No swords hidden in umbrellas, no smoke bombs, just tools, quiet ones, practical ones. You retrieve a rice ball, hard, dry, slightly sour, and chew it slowly. The taste is unpleasant, but you ration it carefully, half now, half for later. If there is a later, your mind remains alert as you eat. You count the minutes between footsteps. You memorize each passing noise. This is how you survive, not by fighting, by knowing. Outside, Kyoto seethes. The once beautiful capital has become a carcass, torn and divided by fighting. Ashes from a nearby fire still hang faintly in the air. The Takeda, Oda, Uesugi, all have moved forces through here in recent years, leaving behind death and disorder. Monks, merchants, soldiers, spies, all mingle uneasily. People vanish in the night. Bodies are found in alleyways, faces bruised beyond recognition. Some whisper of ninja. Most do not. They are too afraid. You dress in silence, layering dark cotton robes over your underclothes, not black, never black. You wear the deep gray of smoke, the faded blue of night. Black casts shadows. Your colors disappear in them. You wrap your head in cloth and lower your scarf across your face. The transformation is subtle, from beggar to ghost, from ghost to hunter. Before you leave, you check your skin. Your hands are steady. Your feet are clean. You've learned not to smell like blood or sweat. You chew bitter mint leaves to mask your breath. The smallest details can betray you. You know this from experience. You've seen others caught because of a muddy footprint or the glint of steel in moonlight. When you lift the trapdoor and emerge into the darkened storage room, the room is empty. The rice sacks stacked high against the wall. The oil lantern still cold from disuse. You pause. Listen. Nothing. You step into the alley through the rear entrance, moving low and quiet. The stones beneath your feet are slick. It rained last night. You pass between homes and gardens, your path guided not by streets, but by memory. You move behind doorways, under verandas, across rooflines worn smooth by the feet of others like you. The city is still waking. You have 1 hour, maybe less, to slip unseen. You are heading to a meeting. You do not know the name of the man you will speak to. He will give no details, only a location and a task. It may be assassination. It may be theft. It may be nothing more than listening to whispers behind a rice screen. It does not matter. You will do it because the coin is necessary, because your survival depends on it, and because you know too much to ever stop. You reach the meeting point, a burned-out shrine near the river's edge, half swallowed by bamboo. You crouch beneath its eaves and wait. A small pebble taps the stone beside you, the signal. You do not look to see who threw it, you only listen. A voice from the shadows gives you your next command. You nod once, no words are exchanged. You vanish again, already tired, already hungry, already bleeding beneath your robe. And it is still only morning. There is no scroll, no official oath, no ceremonial blade pressed to your palm as a vow is sworn in front of ancestors and gods. There is only the silence that becomes your life. The shinobi code is not written, It is beaten into your bones, soaked into your skin, and planted in your thoughts like seeds that will never stop growing. You never chose it, not really. It was chosen for you by circumstance, by birth, by need. You were born in Iga province, or maybe Koga, maybe not even there. Perhaps you were taken in, a child of farmers, or a thief's orphan, or a bastard son of a courtesan. Someone they knew would not be missed if you vanished into training. You remember the first lesson: obedience, not loyalty. Loyalty is a word for samurai, for men of honor who wear family crests and recite poems before battle. Shinobi do not speak of loyalty. You speak of silence, of timing, of submission. You learn to bow not because you respect your teacher, but because you understand what happens if you do not. A wooden staff across your ribs, a week without food. Isolation in a cold, empty pit until the shame burns deeper than the bruises. Your training begins with pain, climbing rough stone walls until your hands bleed, running barefoot through forests lined with thorns, holding your breath beneath icy water for so long you forget what warmth feels like. Every failure earns punishment. Every success is met with silence. Praise is rare, and when it comes, it feels more like a warning. Do not think too highly of yourself. Pride is dangerous. Pride makes you hesitate. Pride gets you killed. You are taught to become a shadow, not merely to hide, but to disappear. You learn to move without sound, to mimic animal calls, to watch the way leaves stir in the wind and know whether it was breeze or footstep. You memorize the scent of poison roots, the weight of throwing nails, the pressure it takes to break a neck. You are not trained for glorious battle. You are trained to strike when backs are turned, to run when necessary, to never leave a trace. Your instructors do not wear masks. They do not speak of heroism. They speak of necessity, of the daimyo lords who use you when they need something done that no honorable warrior will touch. They speak of samurai who spit on your kind in daylight, but whisper for your help in the dark. You are not respected. You are not honored. You are not even acknowledged. You are a tool, sharp, silent, and replaceable. When the first real task comes, you are not given time to prepare. You are handed a small parcel of powder and told to deliver it into a specific cup on a specific night at a specific house in a village you've never seen. No one explains what the powder is. You know better than to ask. It does not matter. What matters is that you are not seen, that the tea is drunk, that you return to your instructor without being followed. You succeed, but you do not sleep afterward. You do not eat the next day. You lie awake wondering who it was you killed. A merchant, a soldier, a mother. The questions burn in your mind until they become ash. You learn to forget them. You have to. There is no room for guilt in a profession where your name will never be sung and your victories are meant to be invisible. As your missions grow, so do the rules. You are taught to kill yourself before capture. You carry a hidden blade for this purpose. Dying by your own hand is cleaner than torture, better than betrayal. You are taught to trust no one, not even your brothers in training. The shinobi code values silence above camaraderie. There are no blood bonds. You are allies only until the job is done. After that, you may be ordered to eliminate one another. It has happened before. You know the stories. You've seen the aftermath. There is a word among shinobi cage no michi, the path of shadows. It is not a path you walk once and leave behind. It is a way of being that reshapes you from the inside out. You begin to avoid your own reflection. You stop dreaming. You forget the sound of your own laughter. Even when you are alone, you move quietly, speak in hushed tones, avoid looking people in the eye. It becomes habit, then instinct, then identity. The outside world does not understand you. Commoners fear you. Samurai despise you. Temple priests call you dishonorable. Children hear stories and imagine you in black robes, leaping from rooftops like spirits. But they do not see the bruises. They do not see the hunger, the cold, the shaking hands after a kill. They do not know that most shinobi die young, not from a blade, but from exposure, disease, or betrayal. They do not know that you live with your back to every wall, because the deadliest strike often comes from behind. Even within the clans, life is fragile. If your mission fails, you may not return at all. If you are seen, captured, or recognized, your own leaders may decide you are no longer safe. Better to silence you permanently than risk exposing the group. You have no title, no land, no family name that will mourn you. When you die, the world will carry on exactly as before. That is the price of the shinobi code. That is the price of your existence. And yet, for some reason, you continue. Perhaps it is the discipline. Perhaps it is the sense of purpose, even if that purpose is cruel and narrow. Perhaps it is because there is nothing else. You know no other life. The thought of a quiet home, of farming rice, or selling silk feels foreign now. You would not know what to do with peace. The edge of the blade is all you have known. And now, even in stillness, you can feel it humming beside you. Your orders arrive again. No names, no promises, only instructions. Tonight, you disappear again. And when you return, if you return, it will be as if you were never there. You do not belong anywhere, not truly, not in the eyes of the world above you, nor in the quiet spaces beneath it. You have learned how to walk like a peasant, bow like a servant, speak like a merchant, and vanish like smoke. But none of those things make you one of them. Your hands are rough, and your feet are calloused like the farmers, but your eyes are wrong, too watchful, too still. Your movements are too quiet, your words too sparse. Even when you pretend to be one of them, they feel something off in you, a hesitation, a presence that lingers too long in the corner of a room. You are a shadow, dressed in a man's robe, and shadows are not welcome for long. When you were younger, you were told to embrace it. The old masters said it was your strength, your ability to become invisible, not just to the eye, but to the very fabric of society. They said it with pride, as if invisibility were something to be proud of. But invisibility is not power, it is absence. It is silence in a room that should be full of life. It is a hunger that never speaks its name. You have eaten at the same fire as villagers and monks, shared soup and sak with traveling merchants, but you have never truly been with them. You carry something in you that they do not understand, and when they sense it, their faces harden. To the peasants, you are suspicious. They do not know what you are, only that you are not what you seem. You arrive at dusk, asking strange questions. You leave before sunrise, always looking over your shoulder. You carry no rice, no tools, no offerings for the shrines. You never stay long enough to form attachments. They know you by a different name each time, but your eyes are always the same. They smile out of politeness, sometimes out of fear, but behind their bows, they watch you carefully. They know danger when it walks through their fields. To the samurai, you are filth. You wear no mon, no crest, no family name. You follow orders from men they consider beneath them. You kill in the dark rather than duel in the open. You strike at sleeping targets instead of meeting your enemy face to face. They call it cowardice. They call it dishonor. They do not see it for what it is: survival, precision, efficiency. You have no armor because you cannot afford the weight. You have no warhorse because you do not belong on a battlefield. Your victories leave no glory behind them, only silence, and sometimes the stench of blood drying on dirt floors. They do not say these things to your face, of course, not always, but they show it in how they look past you, how they speak to others as if you aren't there. You are a blade kept hidden in a drawer, taken out only when necessary, used until stained, then put away again, unacknowledged, uncelebrated, and above all, unclean. They will use you to poison a rival, to blackmail a priest, to burn a scroll containing dangerous secrets, but they will never let you sit in their presence as an equal. There are times when you think about what it would mean to be part of something, to speak your own name aloud without risk, to live with a roof you paid for, with neighbors who know your voice, with children who run to you instead of hiding behind their mother's sleeves. You picture it sometimes as you walk through a village, invisible beneath your straw hat, breathing in the scent of miso soup from an open window. You picture a quiet room, tatami mats, clean and warm underfoot, a simple meal, the sound of rain. You picture safety, but that world does not exist for you, not anymore. The longer you live this life, the harder it is to pretend otherwise. You begin to forget details: where you were born, what your original name was, the face of your father, the sound of your mother's voice. You replace them with stories, lies, at first for missions, then half-truths, then rehearsed memories. Eventually, you cannot tell the difference. You meet an old man who swears he knew you as a child, and you smile politely, though you cannot recall his face. You receive a letter, coded, hidden inside a scroll, and wonder who wrote it, though you recognize the handwriting as your own. Yourself fractures and scatters, piece by piece, like ash in the wind. Sometimes you find a kind face, a tea seller who lets you sit beside her fire, a child who offers you a plum from their sleeve, a monk who speaks to you without judgment. You hold on to those moments like precious stones, buried deep where no one can find them. They keep you human, but they do not last. You always have to leave. Attachment is risk. Kindness makes you hesitate. The shinobi who hesitates is the shinobi who fails. You return to your masters often when the jobs are done, when the blood is washed away, when the smoke clears. But even there, you are not at home. The IGA or Koga elders do not treat you like family. You are a servant, skilled, yes, reliable, hopefully, but expendable. If you fail, someone else will take your place. If you succeed, someone else will take your coin. They call it balance. You call it loneliness. Even your language is different. You speak in coded phrases, never directly. You lie so often that the truth feels foreign in your mouth. You write messages in invisible ink, bury tools in secret caches, sleep in places no one else knows exist. And through all of it, you carry the same dull truth. You do not exist in the world the way others do. You live in the in-between, not high, not low, not samurai, not peasant, not welcome, not forbidden, just tolerated, just needed for now. You are a ghost with flesh, a memory that breathes, and deep down, you know the world will forget you the moment you stop being useful. It begins with a summons, no fanfare, no ceremony, just a folded slip of paper passed to you through the hands of a traveling monk near the temple gate. You do not open it there. You wait until nightfall, once you've returned to your temporary shelter. A straw-walled hut on the edge of a village whose name you have not bothered to remember. You unfold the message slowly, careful not to crease it. The brushstrokes are precise, clear, and merciless. One location, one name, one task. There are no explanations, no maps, no words of encouragement. Only this: a name must be erased. You read it once, then again. Then you burn the paper in your brazier and grind the ash into the dirt floor with the heel of your foot. A minor noble, aligned with a rising daimyo, but dangerous in his ambition. You do not ask who gave the order. You do not ask why now. These questions are for men who live by honor. You live by results. Preparing for a mission does not begin with weapons. It begins with silence. You spend the first hour listening, not to speech, but to the environment around you. The wind through the trees, the pattern of the crickets, the occasional creak of old wood, or the hoot of an owl. Every sound is catalogued and memorized. If something breaks that rhythm later, you will know. You eat nothing. Your stomach must remain still. You drink only a little water. Too much, and your body will betray you at the wrong time. Even your breathing is measured, deep, steady, quiet. Every part of you must be disciplined before your feet ever leave this place. Each item is laid out before you like the pieces of a shrine offering. Your rope, coiled tightly and oiled to keep it soft. A small pouch of powder, a blend of ground pepper, ash, and crushed chili seeds, meant to blind and distract. Not magic, but useful in a desperate moment. Your blades are cleaned again, though they are already spotless. You wrap them in cloth and slide them into the folds of your robe, where they will not shift. Nothing metal is visible. Nothing must rattle. Your disguise depends on the mission. Tonight, it will be a servant's, robed brown and faded, with a woven hat to hide your face. You've observed the estate before, at a distance. You know the servant gates, the rhythm of deliveries, the look of those who come and go unnoticed. You will blend in at first. You always try to begin with blending. Invisibility is not always darkness. Sometimes it is familiarity. You wrap your arms tightly with black cloth to mask the movement of your sleeves. Your legs are bound the same way. No loose fabric, no dangling cords. You carry no armor. It would only slow you down. Your body is your protection. Years of conditioning, of knowing when to hold still, when to vanish, when to strike. You tie your sandals carefully. If they come off mid-mission, you cannot retrieve them. If they are too tight, your feet will bleed. If they are too loose, they will flap and give you away. Every detail matters. The garden path is stone, but the side entrance is packed earth. It makes less noise. You will enter there if you can. The noble sleeps in a separate chamber, east of the main hall. He shares the building with concubines and personal guards. You cannot afford a mistake. You prepare for interruptions, for delays, for mistakes. You do not imagine escape. Escape is a luxury. The mission is the priority. If it ends with your death, but the objective is complete, it is still considered a success. Before you leave, you kneel, not in prayer, but in stillness. It is a ritual you were taught long ago, though no one ever said why. You kneel until your legs ache and your shoulders grow heavy. You breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. You let go of hunger, of fear, of memory. For this night, you must be only purpose. Outside, the wind has shifted. Clouds move across the moon, casting uneven shadows across the road. Perfect. You rise. You check the door, not with your eyes, but with your ears. Nothing stirs. You slip into the night without sound, closing the door behind you with a movement so soft that not even the rats beneath the floorboards stir. In quiet steps and passing shadows, in the stillness between patrols, in every heartbeat that reminds you that you are still alive and that death could come in the next moment without a sound. They do not speak. You are another shadow on the road, a tired man in servant robes heading home too late. You turn off the main path. The trees grow thicker here. You remove your sandals and move barefoot across the moss and dirt. You cannot afford to leave prints. You cannot afford to be followed, even by the wind. Nothing has changed since your last survey. That comforts you a little. But you know better than to relax. The mission begins in moments. You grip the handle of the small blade tucked in your sleeve, and once again you vanish into the dark. You crouch beneath the trees, watching the estate as your heartbeat settles into a slow and measured rhythm. The house rises before you to stories of timber and tile, lit by warm lantern light that flickers behind rice paper walls. A stone wall encircles the property, just high enough to keep out the curious and low enough to be climbed with effort. The courtyard beyond is still, broken only by a single path of polished stepping stones and a few carefully trimmed trees, their shadows long and thin beneath the half-clouded moon. There is no perfect moment to begin. You know this. You have been taught not to wait too long for stillness. Silence can lull the mind into paralysis. Your body is cold and alert. The air smells faintly of pine and old rain. Your foot touches the grass and you begin. The outer wall is rough stone. The mortar between the gaps gives you enough purchase to climb without sound. You move slowly, body pressed tight, every shift calculated. Your bare feet find their holds as if by memory. You rise steadily, pausing at the top to lie flat, blending into the shadowed ridge of the wall. You remain there for several seconds, watching. A guard walks below, moving from one side of the courtyard to the other. His armor is light, his sword slung casually at his side. He does not expect danger from inside. Most do not. His lantern swings with his gait, the flame inside it steady, unmoved by wind. You wait until he passes from view, count your breath 3 times, then drop into the garden below. You land silently, knees bent, arms ready. No crunch of gravel beneath you, only moss and earth. You move quickly now, staying low to the ground, slipping between trees and shrubbery. There is a servant's door near the rear of the structure. You have seen it before. It leads to the kitchen corridor. You press a small wooden wedge beneath the corner of the door and apply pressure to the latch. It creaks, but not loudly. You stop, wait, breathe. No sound follows. You slide the door open just wide enough to pass through and step into the darkness beyond. Inside, the air is warmer. You smell cooked rice, soy, and damp bamboo. The kitchen is unlit, its hearth cold. A few pots lie stacked along the wall. You cross the room quickly, keeping close to the beams. You know the layout. The hall leads eastward. 2 turns bring you to the corridor, near the Lord's private chambers. Your feet make no sound on the polished wood. You have practiced this walk for years, your weight distributed just enough to avoid the boards that creak. As you move deeper into the estate, time changes. Minutes feel like hours. The candlelight in the hallway dances softly, leaving small pools of brightness surrounded by deep shadow. You pass them only when the light flickers low. Your eyes remain fixed on the corners. You know where traps may be placed, pressure stones, concealed wires. These homes were designed not only to display beauty, but to defend against the unexpected. You pause at a paper screen. Voices murmur behind it. Two men seated, likely guards. Their conversation is slow, unimportant. You do not need them to. You slip around the edge of the screen, keeping your back to the opposite wall. You know the hallway narrows here. You make yourself smaller, holding your breath until you are beyond their reach. A floorboard creaks. You freeze. The sound is behind you, faint, maybe no louder than the settling of wood in night air. But you know the difference. You have heard that sound enough to understand what it is. A step, someone awake. Not a guard's boot. Softer, slower. You step backward into a recessed alcove, sliding behind a cloth tapestry that smells of dust and incense. You do not breathe. A servant walks past seconds later, carrying a tray of tea. His eyes are unfocused, heavy with sleep. He does not see you. He moves through the corridor and disappears into a room across the hall. You wait a moment longer, then emerge, slower now, more cautious. You reach the sliding doors that lead to the noble's chamber. You kneel beside them, pressing your ear to the frame. Inside, the room is quiet. The room is dark, the lanterns extinguished. The moonlight falls through the lattice in faint stripes. The noble lies on a raised futon, turned to one side, his hand beneath his head. His sword rests within reach. A precaution, a useless one, tonight. You cross the tatami mats in complete silence, every step rehearsed in your mind 100 times. You kneel beside the futon. You raise the blade. You hesitate. It always happens like this. The stillness, the human shape beneath the blanket. The realization that it is not just a target. It is a person, breathing, unaware. You feel the seconds stretch, and in them, doubt can creep in. But you know what must be done. You steady your grip. You finish the task. No sound escapes. The breath stops. The body does not thrash. There is no glory here, only a clean, quiet end. You clean the blade with cloth. You leave nothing behind. You close the door the way you found it. You retrace your path through the corridor, stepping over every creaking board, waiting in every shadow. The guards remain unaware. The kitchen is still empty. You slip through the servants' entrance once more and vanish into the garden. The wall is easier to climb on the way out. Your body moves without thinking now. Your mind is still in the room, watching that final breath. The cold of the night bites deeper than before. The mission is over, but you are not safe yet. Your footprints will vanish in the morning dew. Your presence will be reduced to nothing more than a strange rustle in the leaves. You return to the shack before dawn. You do not celebrate. You do not sleep. You clean your blade. You change your clothes. You stare into the darkness, and you wait, because another name will come, and the silence will ask for more. You have completed more missions than you care to count. Some are forgettable. Others have left invisible scars on your hands, your ribs, the edge of your mind. But none haunt you like the one that failed, not because of pride, not because of pain, but because, for the first time in your life, you understood just how little stands between precision and chaos, between silence and screaming, between doing everything right and still dying in the dark. It began the same as any other assignment. A scroll delivered by a fisherman at the market. A name, a place, a time frame. The target was a minor official within a distant coastal town, aligned with a rival faction, too ambitious for his own safety, too vocal about his loyalties. You had done this kind of job before. Infiltrate his manor under cover of night. Eliminate him quietly. Slip away before the morning incense was lit. You prepared with your usual caution. You walked the roads alone. You studied the town from its outskirts for 3 days. You timed the patrols, counted the guards, located every exit. And still, it was not enough. You remember the salt air clinging to your robe as you moved along the garden wall. The sound of waves breaking in the distance, muffled by the trees. The moon was low, the sky clear. You had chosen a servant's route through a side corridor to avoid the well-lit front. You knew the floorboards in the main hallway creaked. You had practiced the steps again and again, using the rhythm of distant bells as your guide. You slipped into the inner room. Your blade was drawn. You had not yet stepped into the circle of lamplight when you heard it. A breath, but not from the man asleep in the bedding. From behind you, too close. You turned too slowly. The blow landed against your shoulder. Not hard enough to break bone, but enough to unbalance you. You fell sideways, the world spinning. A second figure emerged from the shadows, sword drawn. A trap, a decoy. You had been expected. Panic is not something you are trained to feel. You are taught to absorb it, to press it deep inside until it becomes decision. But in that moment, surrounded in a room meant to be empty, your vision narrowed, your instincts screamed. You moved out of the path of the next strike, barely dodging the blade. It caught your sleeve, slicing the cloth cleanly and drawing a hot line of blood along your skin. You threw your smoke powder, not out of confidence, but desperation. It filled the room in a cloud, burning the eyes and throat. You ran. You did not fight. You knew better. Fighting in a confined space with trained swordsmen meant death. You leaped through a wooden screen and landed hard on the garden path, rolling onto your back. You heard the shout of alarm, then footsteps, more voices. The entire household was waking. You ran. Every step sent pain through your shoulder, but you ignored it. You vaulted over the garden wall, cutting your palm on the sharp edge of the stone. Blood dripped from your fingers as you sprinted through the narrow alleys, past empty merchant stalls and sleeping dogs. You took turns without knowing where they led. Behind you, voices grew louder. Someone had seen your face. Not fully, not clearly, but enough to chase. You reached the edge of town as the sun began to rise, just a faint pale blue at the corners of the sky. Your chest burned, your legs trembled. You pushed into the forest, ducking beneath low branches, stumbling over roots, running blindly into the trees. You followed no trail. There was no time. An arrow hissed past your ear and struck a tree ahead of you with a heavy thud. You dropped to the ground, heart pounding, crawling forward through the underbrush. Your robe tore on thorns. Your knees bled. You found a dry stream. You did not know if they still followed. You could no longer tell. The only sound was the rush of blood in your ears and the ragged pull of your breath. You collapsed beneath an old cedar tree and forced yourself still. You wrapped your wounds with strips torn from your inner tunic. You smeared mud across your face and hands. You waited there for hours, unmoving. Every sound made your stomach twist. Every bird call felt like a warning. You clutched your blade and tried to slow your heartbeat. The morning dragged on, but no one came. Eventually, the forest fell silent again. You survived, but barely. Days later, you returned to the contact point to report failure. You delivered no name. You completed no task. The man still lived. The mission had been compromised. You expected punishment. You expected scorn. Instead, you were met with silence. Your handler only nodded and handed you a new packet. No apology, no questions, no comfort. You were not praised for surviving. You were not forgiven for failing. You were simply sent back into the field. You lived with the consequences. That town is still burned into your memory. The way the blades moved in the dark, the sting of blood on your shoulder, the breath of the man behind you. You know now that even your precision has limits, that preparation cannot guarantee control, that your life may end not with honor, but with confusion in a corner of a house you were never meant to enter. Worse still, you know the stories. When missions go wrong, it is not always the enemy who ends a shinobi's life. Sometimes it is the employer. Sometimes it is your own clan. To fail is to become a liability. You become a thread that must be cut. You have looked over your shoulder every day since, not only for samurai or bounty hunters, but for the shadow of a fellow shinobi who may one day be sent to erase your name from the ledgers completely. The failure taught you more than success ever could. It taught you that no amount of silence, skill, or calculation can protect you fully. It taught you that being a ninja is not about mastery. It is about endurance. You do not survive because you are flawless. You survive because you are lucky. And one day, that luck will run out. You survived. That is all that matters. That is what they told you when you return to your instructors, your handler, the faceless chain of command that binds shinobi to their invisible masters. They do not ask about pain. They do not ask what went wrong. They do not ask how long you had to crawl through the mud before your bleeding stopped. You are alive. And that is all the evidence they need that you are still useful. But the body remembers. You feel it in your ribs when you wake, in the ache that has settled deep in your shoulder, in the raw edges of the cut on your thigh that never closed cleanly, in the way your fingers tremble when they reach for a blade in the night. You tell yourself it is nothing. You repeat that you have endured worse. You bind the wound. You stretch the limb. You whisper breath into your lungs and move like you always have. But something inside you is not the same. You are still moving through the world like a ghost. But now you are a ghost who knows what it feels like to bleed. In the days that follow the failed mission, no new orders come. This should bring relief, but instead, it feeds a different kind of dread. Shinobi are never idle without reason. You clean your tools, you repack your belongings. You move from hut to hut, changing shelter every night, never sleeping in the same place twice. You walk with your back to the wall in public. You do not speak unless spoken to. You watch every alley for shapes that move too quietly. You wait for the sound of footsteps that do not belong. No one has come for you, not yet. But the silence grows louder with each passing day. You see your reflection in still water one evening, after rinsing blood from your robes. The face that stares back is not one you recognize. Hollow cheeks, lips cracked from lack of rest, eyes rimmed with shadow. The scar on your shoulder has changed your posture. You hold yourself differently now, more tightly, as if waiting for another blow. You remember what your first mentor once said. that being a shinobi meant never becoming too familiar with your own face. You understand now, the face changes, the name changes, but the fear remains. That fear is the one companion you cannot abandon. Sometimes, when it is quiet, you wonder if someone from your own faction gave you up. Perhaps a rival. Perhaps someone eager to test you. Perhaps someone afraid of what you know. You will never ask. There is no one to trust. To question is to signal suspicion, and suspicion is often enough to get you killed. You eat alone. You walk alone. You dream rarely, and when you do, the dreams are not kind. You revisit the memory of the failed mission in pieces. Not all at once. You see flashes, the flash of the blade in the lamplight, the expression of the guard just before he struck, the shout in the hallway that came a moment too soon. You hear the sound of your own breath, ragged and uneven as you ran. You feel the cold night air slicing through your robes. You remember the moment you stopped believing you were untouchable. There is no punishment for failure in your clan. Not directly. They will not cut your head off for surviving. But the punishment comes in other ways. Your name is whispered less often. Your requests are delayed. Your missions, when they do come again, are harder, more vague. The maps are incomplete. The targets are more dangerous. It becomes a quiet way of saying that your usefulness is uncertain. You are being tested again, without being told. You accept this because you have no choice. There are no allies to confide in. The other shinobi are not your friends. You speak only when required. You share meals in silence. You sleep on opposite sides of fireless rooms. The one who smiles too often or asks too many questions is remembered, and remembered people are at risk. If you show fear, others will report it. If you show doubt, you may be replaced. The only constant is the code. That unwritten series of rules that keeps you alive but never warm. Disappear before dawn. Leave no trail. If captured, deny everything. If cornered, die quickly. If questioned, lie. Always lie. Not just to enemies, but to your own memory. Lie to the faces of the dead. Lie to the part of yourself that still wants something else. You travel one day to a neighboring province under the guise of a traveling scribe. It is a routine movement, a cover you have used before. You lodge with an old woman who mistakes you for a lost scholar. She serves you warm rice and does not ask your name. That night, as you lie awake on her floor, staring at the wooden beams above, you think about staying, about letting your blade fall from your fingers and fading into a village like this one, where people live and age without learning to kill. You think about what it would mean to let go of the path, but you know you will not, because the aftermath is not just a consequence. It is your identity now. You are what remains after the mission, after the blood dries, after the story is told and forgotten. You are not the moment of impact. You are the silence that follows. You wake before dawn, thank the woman, and walk back into the wilderness. Your pack is lighter than before, your eyes heavier. You tell yourself the pain is just another lesson, but you know it is more than that. You know that with every step you take, you are less a man and more a shadow. The sun has long since fallen, and only the faint glow of a distant lantern on the road reminds you that the world outside still moves. But you are motionless. You have not lit a fire. You do not boil tea. You do not speak. The night is too quiet for any of that. The slightest spark would be a signal. The smallest sound could betray your presence. You are a creature of silence, as you have always been. The cicadas have fallen still. The trees creak now and then in the wind. A rat shifts somewhere near the ceiling, nosing around for something to chew. You barely hear it. You are listening to something else, the sound of your own breath, the rhythm of your own stillness. There is no mission tonight, no name to erase, no Lord to please. But this absence, this brief moment of peace, does not bring you comfort. Instead, it brings something colder, something sharper, regret. It does not arrive suddenly. It never does. It slips in slowly, like a draft under the door. You feel it in your spine first, a dull weight pressing down through your ribs. Then it coils in your chest, a tightness that comes from nowhere but refuses to leave. You close your eyes, and it is there behind the lids, behind every breath, behind every memory you try to bury. You wonder how many people you have killed. Not in a numerical sense. You know the count, though you never say it aloud. What you wonder now is who they were, what they believed in, whether they were good, whether they deserved it. You tell yourself, as you always have, that it does not matter. You were given orders, you carried them out. That is what a shinobi does. You were not meant to ask questions. You were meant to vanish like fog when the sun rises. But lately, the fog clings to you. You lean your head back against the wall and stare into the darkness above. The beams of the roof are old, half-rotted, split in places from heat and rain. You trace the jagged lines with your eyes. They remind you of scars. You have many now, some visible, most not. Scars do not hurt when they heal, but they ache in certain seasons, in the cold, in the stillness, in nights like this. You saved it from a village weeks ago. You told yourself you would drink it when the time felt right, but even now you hesitate. You know what the wine will do. It will dull the edges, slow your blood, loosen your grip on caution. It will bring down the wall inside your chest, just enough for memory to slip through. Still, you reach for it. The first sip burns, not from heat, but from the bitterness. It tastes like something too sweet, like fruit left too long in the sun. You feel it move down your throat, warming your stomach. For a moment, it comforts you. For a moment, you forget the cold earth beneath you. You forget the sword that rests across your lap. You forget the face of the man you killed last month in a river town, whose name you have already lost. You take another sip. You think of a woman. You do not remember her name, only her hands, the way she tied her hair in the mornings, the way she never looked surprised when you came or went. You think she might have known what you were, though she never asked. You had almost stayed, almost, but someone recognized your voice. You fled before dawn, left no note. You wonder if she still waits. You doubt it, but you wonder anyway. You drink again. You remember the child, the one who watched you from behind a curtain as you stepped over his father's body. You had not seen him until it was too late. He said nothing. He did not cry. He only looked at you with an expression you still do not understand. Not anger, not fear, something deeper, something quieter. You carry that look with you, more than the blade, more than the names. That expression is what has stayed. The wine is half gone. Your limbs feel heavy. Your breath has slowed. But the regret, you once believed you would retire, that you would live long enough to step away from the path. But you understand now that this was a lie you told yourself. Shinobi do not retire. They vanish, or they die, or they are killed by their own before they can reveal too much. You are not free. You never have been. You were forged in secrecy and shaped by silence. you are not meant for peace, only for disappearance. You lie back, resting your head on your pack. The floor is uneven. Your bones press against it. You shift once, then stop. The pain in your shoulder reminds you that your body is still real, even if your identity no longer is. You stare at the ceiling again and try to picture your parents. You cannot. Their faces have dissolved in your memory. You try to remember your real name, the one before the code, the one spoken by someone who loved you. It comes close, then slips away. You are no longer certain you want it back. Perhaps it is better not to remember. Perhaps it is better that all of this fades. The rat near the ceiling finally leaves. You do not move. You do not sleep. You wait, because you know that the silence never lasts. You know that another name will come. And when it does, you will rise. You will gather your things. You will press the regret deep into your chest where no one can see it. And you will vanish into the night once more. Because this is all you have ever known. And it is all you are allowed to be.